Hello, everyone. I'm Psychic Medium Chris George, and I'm joined by my co-host Victor the Voice Furman and Jeremy Moonshine Adams. Welcome to our show, Vision Quest, where we will try and unleash the power of your mind. It is August 22nd, and we're airing live on DTMWickedRadio.com, and we want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Before I go on, everybody should write down this phone number in case you want to give us a call, ask us a question. It is 818-431-8214, 818-431-8214. And we're going to have a great show tonight, people. I want you guys to sit back, relax, and let's cross the threshold of reality together because this is going to be a kick-ass show. Our guest tonight was supposed to be Michelle Arbo, which is a gift numerology. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency and could not make it. So at the last minute, we started to do a show on exorcism and possession and attachment. Guys are interested in the topic.
Hi, you've reached Tamara. Sorry, I can't take your call right now, but please leave a message.
Okay, well, that's our guest, actually. We're going to talk to Tamara Costantino. Victor Furman and I and our team actually performed an exorcism in her home, and she's going to come on and talk about that. My fan page is Psychic Medium Chris George. Victor's fan page is Victor the Voice Furman, and Jeremy's fan page is Jeremy Moonshine Adams. Get those pages. Not only that, but we also have a group page which is called Vision on Facebook. We get into some really amazing conversations on there. So if you want to be involved, just go to Facebook and look up Vision Quest group page and get on there with us, people. I promise you, you'll love it. We also have a group page on Google Plus, which is obviously called Vision Quest. So, and they do a lot of great stuff on there as well. Last week, our guest was Stephen Popiatek, the Cosmic Shaman, and I know that Victor had a lot in common with him, and you know, really had a good time talking with Stephen. You know, Victor, you guys are kind of like on the same wavelength when it comes to that stuff because you have a vast knowledge of the same things that Stephen does, and listening to the two of you go back and forth was pretty impressive last week, I got to say. So what do you guys want to say about Stephen?
Jeremy, what do you think about Stephen?
I thought he was a great guest, man. He's very knowledgeable in everything. So.
And for those who are in the New York City metropolitan area, he's doing a full moon meditation Monday night at Cleopatra's Needle in New York's Central Park.
All right. So hold on a second here. I got lost for a second.
Chris, the reason Stephen and I have so much in common is on the ship together. So.
I believe that. And I don't know what ship I was on. I think I was on the Fuller ship, but I was on that ship. Anyway, what else do we have going on? You like that? But anyway, it was a great show, and Stephen's an old friend of mine, and he never fails to impress. He's been on this show twice. He's been on our other show, I want to say 4 or 5 times. So obviously, and we'll have him again because we didn't cover everything we wanted to.
Chris, yeah. By the way, I understand this afternoon you were asking about if anyone knew any cryptids or had any stories about cryptozoology, and right. I read a report that the beast known as the Moon Shinada was spotted running around in wilds of Michigan. He's described as being very tall, with a beard, and he walked upright. And so if anybody sees anything like that, bald, tall, beard, and walk upright in the wilds of Michigan, please report to the National Cryptid Reporting Center and say, I've seen the Moon Shinada.
It is.
Nice.
It comes all the way up to my eyeballs, man.
Now that's cryptid, man. That's cryptid.
It's freaking insane.
So, do we have our guest with us yet? I guess not. Okay, well.
Oh, sorry, Chris. I keep calling. All I keep getting is answer machine, but I got Tom coming in here in just a minute, guys.
Okay, that's fine. So, like I said, you know, Victor, Michelle Arbo called me. Well, actually, she inboxed me about 4 o'clock this afternoon, letting me know that she had a family emergency and she couldn't make it. I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna do now? We don't have a show, and made a few phone calls, and here we are. So it's gonna be a good show. this is right up our alley, especially you and I, Victor. We have a lot of personal experience we could talk about, and it's going to be good. We also have a few questions that our fans have sent in, and I'm sure there'll be other questions as we go. So
speaking of up the alley, guess who's here? It's Mr. Up the Alley himself. Hello, Tom. Welcome.
Hello, gentlemen.
Nice to see you, Mr. Gillespie.
How are you?
I'm doing good. And so listen, why don't we get on with this show? I mean, we have to. I mean, our guest isn't with us yet, so I think the way we should start this is talking about attachments. And Vic, do you want to say anything on attachments before I give some signs and symptoms?
Well, the first thing I want to do is say that if anyone is with a demon and they become too possessive, break up right away.
I tried to do that.
Well, Chris, I have a question for Facebook. Can something attach itself, never show itself? Like, can it lay dormant?
Oh, 100%. I think half the world probably has attachments. I mean, Victor, and I'm not even exaggerating. I believe probably half the world has attachments and they don't know it. What do you think about that, Vic?
I agree 100%. You know, the attachment doesn't have to be a true entity of some kind. It could just be negative energy that they picked up along the way. Because negative energy, as our friend Terry J. simply put it, is like garbage, and it's very possible for somebody to pick it up and carry it along with them.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And, you know, I think people, they when they hear attachment, they right away they think demonic. And the fact of the matter is, it's rarely demonic. I mean, and you guys could chime in this if you want. I think like very hip, especially because you watch like guys like Zach and he's getting possessed every show, and people think that that's the norm, and it's not. The whole demonic is so I think played up that it's almost laughable because everybody seems to think that everything is on these days. What do you guys say about that?
What about that, Tom? Why don't you chime in on that? You've been with us in some of the investigation, some of the pick up. Is everything demonic out there?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's right on the money with it. I mean, we got a spirit energy, like where it comes to attachment. Basically, they wait for a moment of weakness and literally attach itself to like a person, pretty much like a leech. They feel that energy like basically over a period of time, slowly. I mean, my experience from what you guys have been, what I've experienced with you guys and just some research. I mean, possession. I mean, they just go for the prize. I mean, they just go straight into it and just take over right away.
Now, here's my opinion. Here's the dealio, okay? All the work that I've done with Chris and personal experiences, I only think once, and I think Chris has had more than one, but only one was something that I'd consider to be a non-human entity. Only one. Would you agree, Chris?
Well, you must be talking about Tony's house. Am I right when I say that?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that was something that I had never experienced either, Victor. People who have listened to our shows know that that we do exorcisms. Okay, we've been all over doing exorcisms. I've been all over doing exorcisms, and I've done over 90 of them, and I honestly believe that maybe 3 of them were what I would deem to be demonic. The one that you know about, I don't know what it was. I would say demonic, but it was definitely different. And I think we should probably talk about that a little bit because it's pretty intense.
Well, I just want to differentiate. There are 2 things that we're talking about. We're talking about the attachment of a disincarnate human being, someone who was a human being in life, whose body ceased to exist, whose spirit is around, and for whatever reason attaches itself to someone. For whatever reason, the business could be catching a ride because they sense the light in the life, whatever it might be. We'll talk about that later. As opposed to something that is never incarnate as a human being, and to as demonic, some type of entity. So I just want to differentiate between the 2.
Well, and thank you for doing that, Victor. what we experienced at Tony's house was something like you said, neither one of us had ever experienced before, and we'd been there a couple times, and then when it was time to actually do the exorcism, I think we were both taken back, especially me. I mean, I can't speak for you. I can speak for me because I was the one doing the channeling. I'd never experienced what had happened to me that night ever in my life, and it's hard for me to explain exactly what happened, but all I know is that I needed to seriously regroup, rethink, recharge, and go back and attack it a different way.
I was very concerned about you that night. Number one, what we thought we were dealing with was this woman's deceased husband, his disincarnate spirit. What we actually encountered was something that neither Chris nor I had ever had experienced. When Chris came down from the upstairs the first time, he saw, and then we all saw, what appeared to be worms, black energy worms crawling across the living room floor. And these things were like unbelievable. And Chris, they basically jumped into you. I'd never seen anything happen like that before. What did that feel like? You remember you have any conscious recollection of that?
It felt like I remember I was going into trance, and I remember like I felt like I was being hit, like somebody was throwing baseballs at me, and that's how big it felt, like maybe like softballs. Okay, it felt like I was getting hit with softballs, one after the other, and I felt like I got hit with at least 30 of them. And the next thing I remember is waking up and thinking, what the hell just happened? And that's when I remember I looked at you, Victor, and I was like, what just happened? And I actually left the house for a few minutes to regroup because it was overwhelming.
Absolutely,
I mean, you could explain better what happened because you were the one helping me when I was in trance.
These energy entities, or whatever they were, and I still to this day don't really know what we were encountering that night, had basically taken Chris's body, and Chris was actually bouncing off the floor on his belly, literally as if his belly was like a bouncing, like a spring mechanism, and he was actually bouncing off the floor. I'd never seen anything like that. And I always, when we work together, my main concern is Chris's heart, protecting his heart and protecting his energy, his entire energy field, the chakras. And when that happened, we grabbed him. In fact, it took Alex and I think, to hold you down to stop you from bouncing that night, as I recollect.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of weird for me because for those of you who don't know me, I'm kind of big. I mean, I'm not huge, but I'm a big guy, and for me, I see Tom laughing in the chat room over here. But the thing is, for somebody like me to bounce, I mean, you can make the jokes that I'm a heavy guy and I bounce, but it's not like that. I was literally, it was like I was hitting the ground and then popping up and being airborne for a second and then going down and doing it again. And I don't even know how I remember that because I normally don't remember anything when I go in trance. But that kind of stuck with me because it never happened before. And I remember thinking to myself as this was happening, I really need to control this, but I don't know how. We thought you were having
a seizure, to be quite frank, and that's the reason we got so concerned. So Alex and I think your brother-in-law was there that night also, wasn't?
I don't remember.
I remember another large man being there because the three of us were trying to hold you down, and literally it was like your body was refusing to be pressed to the ground. You kept raising up and raising up and raising up until we finally got you stabilized. I immediately put my hands around your heart. I think Alex gave you the gentle face slap that he sometimes gives to break you out of the trance. And then the next thing you did was we had to take you outside and get you some fresh air. In the meantime, I stayed inside, and I was watching these waves of energy on the floor and using my skills to disperse them until you came back in the house. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
I want to know, when I know what the energy was like when we went down into that basement, but it had to change big time while the exorcism was being performed. What was it like down there when that was actually happening?
The entity was making you say things or channeling things through you that were rather vulgar, nasty, and directed toward a younger woman who was there. And your face, I've seen your face transform. I've seen your face shift when you're channeling. But what I saw that night was something I had never seen before. It was almost the manifestation of pure evil.
Yeah, that
Sort of the way Jeremy looks on New Year's Eve after a few shots of moonshine. You know, just that manifestation of pure evil.
Look, there was no trouble that night. Not one.
No, I didn't say anything about trouble. I just said evil, baby.
Well, listen. Let's make a long story short with this. I mean, the end result was we went outside. We got some air. We came up with another game plan, and I just kind of had to refocus myself. You know, one thing you guys have to understand when you're doing an exorcism, when you're dealing with negative spirit, when you're dealing with evil spirit, when you're dealing with demons, anything negative. On the other side, they believe that they're stronger than you. They believe that they can't be defeated. So if you have any doubt as an exorcist, if you have any doubt that you cannot defeat this, guess what? You won't. Because they're so strong, and they're smart, and they're cunning, and they're sneaky. And they'll make you believe things that aren't there, right? Right, Victor? I mean,
Absolutely.
And they'll shape shift, and they'll do all kinds of things to throw you off your game. And if for 1 second, as an exorcist, you doubt yourself, you're done. And not only are you going to lose, but there's a possibility of getting hurt. There's a possibility of something very bad happening. And that's why, you know, being a physical medium, I always have people with me when I do an exorcism. And
the other aspect of it, though, was that the woman whose home this was had a lot of issues. And sometimes negative entities like this will take advantage of people who are emotionally weak, who are suffering, who are depressed, and basically use the energy of depression, of upset, of grieving, whatever the energy might be, and feed on that. And that's what made them so strong.
Yeah, it was an intense night. I mean, it was something I'll never forget. I honestly, it's not something I want to do again. If I had to, obviously I would. But it was definitely one of the most interesting exorcisms I've ever been a part of. It was physical exorcisms. That was really, truly a physical exorcism. Yeah. Denny, do we have our guest with us yet?
I believe so, Chris. Want me to patch you in?
Yes, please. Hello, Tamara. Are you with us? Tamara. Could you hear us, Tamara?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine. Could you hear us?
I can hear you.
Very good. Hi, Tamara. How are you?
Hey, Victor. I am fabulous. How are you guys?
Wonderful.
We're doing good, and I gotta thank you for being here tonight because you're kind of saving our butt a little bit because our guest had to cancel, and I wanted to do a show on exorcism, and you have become a very good friend of mine over the years, and we did an exorcism with you or for you, and when I called you, you jumped at the opportunity. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, Vic, maybe do you want to start off about this? And Jeremy and Tom, I know you guys weren't there for this, but if you have any questions, please jump in and ask them because, I want it to be very interactive. And for the listeners, who has the call-in number? Somebody throw out the call-in number. If you have any questions at any point about exorcism or about what we're talking about with Tamara, please feel free to call in and let's get a great discussion going. So somebody throw out the number, please.
818-431-8214 is the call-in number.
Thank you. How about you, Vic? You want to start this off?
Yeah, actually, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start by having Tamara explain why she asked us to come to her home. Tamara, why don't you do that?
Oh, my. Well, we got to go back to 2012. That's when it all started for me. And it actually started with my daughter, who was seeing this shadow man in the basement. and none of the kids wanted to play downstairs ever. And even when we had company over, nobody ever wanted to be in the basement. They were always coming upstairs, and I couldn't figure out why. And one day I was down in the basement because my washer and dryer are downstairs, and I'm doing laundry, and all of a sudden I hear this, like, laughter. And it was really like a wicked kind of laughter. And I was alone in the house. There was nobody here with me. And I look over, and the shadow man is standing right in the corner in the back room of my basement. And at that point, I'm a Roman Catholic, so I started reciting every prayer that my mother ever taught me to pray, and he wouldn't go away. He was very just evil. And he's like, you're not going to get rid of me that easy. And then he just disappeared, and I'm like, well, I got to do something about this. Fast forward a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call from Madeline. She's in school, and she's upset. And she asks me if I can come get her early. She's not feeling well. So I get her, we get in the car, and she just breaks down crying. And I asked her what was wrong, and she said, he's following me to school now, and he's changing his appearance. And I said, well, how does he appear to you? And she said, he's a blue-eyed, platinum blonde-haired older gentleman, and he wears a khaki fedora, and he has matching khaki suspenders and khaki pants and a blue shirt. And I said, well, what is he doing when you see him in school? And she goes, he's laughing at me like evil. So at that point, I had been on Facebook, and one of my friends posted something, and I noticed, like, in his circle of friends, this picture just pops out at me. And I said, God, I've seen this guy before. So I click on the picture, and it's Chris George. And here is this psychic medium right in front of me, and I'm like, wow, what are the odds that this guy is going to be on Staten Island, and can he help us? So I reached out to Chris via Facebook, and he Facebooked me back, and he said he was interested in meeting with Madeline and myself. So we met with him, and we explained what was going on here. And at this point, it hadn't escalated yet. And Chris, I don't hate me, but I swear after our first meeting, that's when everything started escalating with this entity. He was shaking my daughter's bed at night, so much so that she couldn't sleep in her room. And we went through this 4 months. And I was sprinkling holy water throughout my house, and I was praying, and nothing was getting rid of this thing. So she slept with me. My husband slept in her room. While my husband was in her room sleeping, nothing happened. But this thing decided to come into my room and start shaking my bed.
Yeah, Tamara, I just want to interject that what had happened was when you called on Chris, the moment you made that call, even before he physically arrived at your house, this spirit knew that it was in for trouble, that it was in for a fight, and that's why the escalation started.
I think so, and I think that's at that point. I feel that's why things escalated. He knew his time was up, and I had to tell you, meeting you was like the best thing that ever happened to us, really.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, but to just comment on what Victor and you had just said, that happens a lot. I'll walk into a house that has a negative entity in it, and the spirit will say, I don't want you here. Why are you here? This is my home. Get out, And I get challenged by spirit right off the bat because they know what I do, and they know what they're in for. They don't believe that they're going to lose. They don't believe that I could really do anything to hurt them. Little do they know, later on, what happens. But it's just interesting that that it works out that way. So go ahead, Tamara.
So enter yourself and Vic Furman and Alex Rivas and Beatrice. You guys all came to my home, and you got rid of this SOB that was basically tormenting myself and my daughter. I mean, we went for almost a year with this thing in my house, and it wouldn't go away. no matter what I said, no matter how many times I said the power of Christ compels you to leave my home, and it just would not go. It would
Jeremy,
not go.
why don't you ask that question before we speak more to Tamara about the situation? Go ahead, Jeremy.
Chris, how do you prepare for a case like that?
Well, I actually prepare for them all exactly the same way. Whether it's something that's very simple for me to do or something that's much more difficult for me to do. I have certain music that I listen to before I do an exorcism. There's a group called ERA, and they play like these hardcore chant music, and they have a song called The Mass, which is also known as Il Divano, and I listen to that, and it's hardcore chant. And then there's a CD called, and I know you guys are going to probably laugh at this, it's actually called Drum Sex, and it's hardcore drumming. And for years now, before an exorcism, I will listen to, tracks from Drum Sex and tracks from ERA, and it focuses me. It's hardcore, and I go into trance, and it just focuses me, and it grounds me, and it prepares me, and it gets my blood going in such a way that, I really feel that I'm unbeatable. Not only that, but I'm not big on prayers, which is kind of odd for what I do, and I know people probably are going to find it hard to believe that, but I'm not really big on prayers. That's where Victor comes in when we get to the place. I ground myself. I meditate and I ground myself and I protect myself and I call in my angels and my spirit guides and the archangels, especially Raphael and Archangel Michael, to protect me, to heal me, and to protect me physically. And then when we actually get to the place, then Victor, you should probably take over here because that's where you actually take over that part.
Right, and usually what I'll do is I'll have everyone that's working on the team join hands in a circle, and in my role as an interfaith minister, I'll lead us in an interfaith prayer of protection, an interfaith prayer of guidance, and for the successful completion of the work that we're there to do. Tamara, getting back to specifically your situation, are you comfortable discussing who the entity was and what happened that day?
The entity, as it turned out, was a gentleman. I shouldn't even use that word to describe him, but his name was Manuel, and it turns out that he was somebody that was interwoven in my family years ago, and he wasn't a very nice person. He was a deviant, and he was basically preying on my daughter. And, as a mother, your first instinct is to protect your children or your child, no matter what. And this is for things that you can see and deal with. So when you're facing something that is tormenting your child and you can't see them and you're trying to seek out help and you're going to people and they're basically telling you you're crazy, I think your daughter needs psychiatric help or an evaluation here, it was a very frustrating time. And up until the point where I got in touch with Chris and we met and we discussed what was going on, she was going for psychiatric evaluation because I didn't know how else to help her, And I thought the power of prayer would in fact rid our home of this entity, but it did not. I feel that it only got stronger. And
I need to cut you off there. Tamara, I need to cut you off there because this is a big sticking point for me. This is where what I do with the controversy comes in, and Victor, I would like you to speak on this as well. I'm a huge believer that prayer helps, but it doesn't fix. I know the religious people don't like to hear that, the Catholics, and I am Catholic as well, but I'm a huge believer in that. I just don't believe that prayer alone can get rid of a negative entity. And anybody who believes that, you're fooling yourself, and you're setting yourself up, to be disappointed. You're setting yourself up for danger, I think, because it doesn't work. It helps. It's a Band-Aid, but that's all it is. And I say that because, there have been many exorcisms that I've done prior to Victor, especially, where priests have gone in and done their rites of exorcism, the quote-unquote right way to do an exorcism, and only for a month or two later, the spirit to be back. And there's a reason it comes back. It's because you can't get rid of it with prayer alone. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I've fought with people over this, and I've gotten hate mail because I say this, but I'm a firm believer. Vic, I'd love for you to talk on that a little bit.
Well, in essence, what we're dealing with when we're dealing with whether it be a disincarnate human or some type of non-human entity or quote-unquote demon, is it's a form of energy. And prayer is a form of energy, and the work that you do is a form of energy, and what I do is a form of energy. And ultimately, it's energy that overcomes energy, or energy that neutralizes energy or changes energy. And prayer is one form, but someone has to be very, very powerful in the prayer and very steeped in their faith. And quite frankly, other than a couple of priests that I've been friends with who are very powerful men, I rarely find someone who has enough strength within the context of their own faith and religion to make their prayer powerful enough to do what we're talking about, to imbue it with sufficient energy to do what they're talking about. So prayer is a complement to the work for most people, but it's not all of the work. It's just part of the work.
And I like the way you said that. It's a complement to the work, and that's absolutely true, Victor. Jeremy, you have something you want to add?
Yeah. Do you remember the story I told you about the homeless guy with the hatchet? Would that fall into this category?
Yeah, I think it would. I think it would.
If I share that story?
Yeah, absolutely share it.
All right, so I was 12 years old. I lived in a trailer. My bedroom was on one side, parents' bedroom was on the other. And I wake up one night, and there was a homeless guy with a hatchet standing at the end of my bed. I was completely paralyzed, couldn't talk. What seemed like forever, I fought to get even a whisper out. But when I finally whispered, then I knew that I could yell. And so I yelled for my mom, and my stepdad came, and he literally picked me up, 12 years old. I was a fat kid. So carried me through the house and laid me down on the floor at the foot of their bed. And I finally fell asleep, but then I woke up, and there was this bright white light coming out of a corner of a room where there was no light. And then I just knew that everything was going to be okay after that. So that's that story. But,
oh my gosh.
Wait a minute, one other thing. So I told this story to Chris, and Chris said, man, it sounds like this guy that I've already, had dealings with. And he sent me a picture of this god-awful fucking thing. I hate that picture. And it's on, you're smiling now. I see you smiling, but it's on his Facebook. And I swear to you, it's the same dude. It looks the same. Tattered up clothes, like the fingers cut out of some old brown gloves, just a hope looking, but the entity that Chris, quit laughing, dude. He said it was a pedophile, right?
Yeah, the one that I was dealing with was definitely a pedophile, absolutely.
I don't know what it was. I don't know what that was, and I don't know what the white light was.
I wish I would have known you back then, because maybe we could have done something about it. Tom, do you have anything you want to ask?
Well, no, I mean, after Jeremy's thing, I was going to ask you about when you finalize about what type of spirit it is, whether it's an earthbound spirit, a ghost, or is it a lost soul? Is it? I mean, that's something, or a thought form. I mean, I was just curious about how you finally realize what type of spirit you're dealing with, of what's attaching, and how you say, okay, here's my plan of attack of I'm doing this.
Vic, you want to answer that?
That's a great question, and I think it really comes down to the fact that the majority of what we're dealing with. First of all, there are times that Chris gets called, or we get called, or I get called, and it turns out that it's nothing more than the person having an emotional issue, and it's purely an emotional issue. It's something that they're processing and that they really need professional help with. Sometimes it's an energy. Sometimes it's an air and energy. Sometimes they have bad electrical wiring in their homes, and it's manifesting in strange ways, but it's nothing more than bad electrical wiring.
Like
when we're actually dealing, I'm sorry?
like something like electrical energy, something like that, like a fear cage almost?
Absolutely. In fact, I'll give you a quick story. There was a guy in Brooklyn who had called us saying that he would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning in his bedroom and there would be a face right in front of his face and he would scream and it would disappear, but he couldn't go back to sleep. So we got to the house, and the first thing we noticed was that there were half-drunk wine bottles all over the place, and we were certain that had something to do with it. But while examining his room, we took out a magnetic and EMF detector, magnetic field detector, and he had an iPod dock next to his bed where his head would be. Now, normal background magnetism from an appliance is somewhere between 0 and 1. If it's a really, really powerful appliance that has magnetics in it, it's maybe 2. This thing pegged the meter at 100. So in essence, what was happening is his head was being bombarded with electromagnetic radiation, which can cause hallucinations, paranoia, itching skin, a number of physical manifestations. Absolutely. So he said to the guy, move the iPod dock out of the room and stop drinking all this wine, and your problem will stop. And that was it. That's exactly what it was, and he never had the face come again. All right, now, so that's examples of environmental and emotional. But now we're talking about entities, and again, two kinds, formerly human beings and non-human beings. The majority of the formerly human beings, I know how to detect very easily because that's the ones I encounter the most of. Chris maybe can address the ones about the demonic, because like I said, actually twice that I've been involved in something that was non-human, and if you want to use the word demonic. Chris, why don't you take that?
Well, for me, it's a little bit different because I don't care if the spirit's earthbound. I don't care if it's demonic. I don't care if it's just a negative energy. To me, it's all the same. To me, I look at it as something that doesn't belong there. I look at it as something that has to be gotten rid of. And, I don't – this is going to sound maybe, I don't know, bad on my part, but I don't worry so much about any of that stuff. I just my main focus is always getting rid of it, and I think that's why you and I work so well together, Victor, because you really know about that stuff. Me, I just want to go in and kick ass. I mean,
but just to address Tom's question, to Tom's point. How do you know the difference between something that was once human and something that was never human? I think that's really what he's asking.
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's a feeling I get. The way the energy comes to me, I know right away. If it's a little bit softer, it's one thing. If it's a little harder, it's another. It's all about the feel. Go ahead, Jeremy. You had something?
Yeah. How does your spirit guide Edward Pace interact with you during these sessions?
Honestly, the only time that they really interact with me during this is when I come out of my, I do exorcism in stages. I do it for a little while, then I come out, and then I do it for a little while, and I come out. And it's when I come out that Edward will talk to me. He'll say, "Listen, be careful about your heart. Listen, he's trying to confuse you. Listen, he's shape-shifting. Listen, he's, watch, the physical part of it." He'll give me like little tidbits that I really need to know that really help me while this is all going on. And what I do in return is I let everybody that's there helping me, like Victor and Mark and Tom when he's there, I let them know. I say, listen, this is what's happening. It's like a confusion thing he's hitting me with, or it's a very physical thing he's hitting me with, and that's the message from my guide. And I let them know, watch my left side, watch my right side, watch my throat area, and because those are the messages that I get. That's a great question, Jeremy. Thanks for asking that.
That is a great question. So getting back to Tamara's specific situation, so the next thing that happened to Tamara is we all got together in Maddie's room, I believe it was, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Chris, when he does this work, will start going into a trance. Chris, why don't you describe the trance and how that happens?
Well, I sit down. I, open myself up completely. I ask for protection, and I invite the spirit into me, and it just kind of happens. And sometimes it's very quick. Sometimes it takes a minute or two. But it always happens, and I just allow the spirit into me, and whatever happens. So it's very simple for me. I just open up and allow the spirit in, and it comes in.
Now, you describe it as simple, but and I think that's really an understatement, because what's actually happening is you're allowing this external energy to enter you, and it's sometimes very powerful energy.
Yeah.
And to be able to process and handle that takes a tremendous amount of will on your part.
Oh, without a doubt. Listen, Victor, let me tell you guys something. There was a time I did an exorcism. You guys have seen the picture of what I call the evil clown. Some people think it looks like a reptilian, demonic, and whatever. You know, when I did that exorcism, I'm a big guy, all right? My brother-in-law is about 315. My other brother-in-law is about 300. And my ex-nephew was about, I would say, 240, 245, all right? I can't do push-ups to save my life anymore. Back in the day, I could do 50, 75, no problem. Now I'm a big fat tub of shit. I can't do push-ups. So what happened was, with spirit in me, I was down on my belly with all three of them on top of me. I did a push-up, and I walked across the room with them on top of me. Now, in reality, I probably couldn't do that, you know? So, yeah, you know, different things happen. I could become very strong. I could become very childlike. I could become feminine. I could become whatever the spirit is, you know? And, you know, sometimes sometimes it's embarrassing, but hey, it is what it is.
Chris, it's only embarrassing when you're trying to fit into a size 16 dress. That's the only time it becomes embarrassing.
That's true.
It's pretty hot when you see it.
So anyway, getting back to the situation with Tamara. So Chris brings this spirit, this entity, into him, and it starts manifesting in threatening both Tamara and her daughter. It starts manifesting in saying negative and nasty things. And when Chris does this work, I'll let him describe how he does it internally, because I really don't know what he does inside. And maybe he doesn't even know consciously what he does inside, but he does it to chew up and destroy this thing. But something very unusual happened this time. I am an empath, and I also do physical mediumship. And I really didn't like doing it, and I was avoiding it at all costs. But on that given day, something happened. I started having this overwhelming feeling of sorrow that overcame me. I closed my eyes, and when I opened my eyes, I started tearing. And I started having the sense that I was very sorry for doing something that unfortunately allowed Tamara and now her daughter with the spirit to be subjected to this horrible situation. And during the course of this happening, Beatrice had taken a member of the group, Beatrice, took a picture. And the picture of me sitting there, my face was not my face. Tamara, whose face?
No, you had no face.
I had no face. No. But then I had a face. And Tamara, whose face did I have?
I think well, actually, we had a lot going on that day.
Okay.
My biological father came through.
Right.
And he apologized for not being there for me and for not trying to do more to protect me. And he basically asked for my forgiveness for not being there. And it's still, every time I think about it, it's very powerful, because I never got a chance to know him. And when he came through, and I think you may still have that on recording, Chris, of him coming through. It was just very emotional, very emotional.
So in essence, that day, Tamara, your father, your biological father, came through me to ask for your forgiveness.
Yeah, and I did. I did. At that point, I felt like I had no other recourse but to forgive him, because I just wanted to move on, you know. And I could almost feel like he was trying to protect us as best he could, but he couldn't kind of give it his all until I forgave him. And I think when I did, it was just like a big emotional release.
And so the combination of your father, his name was Pito, right?
Pito, yes.
Yeah, coming through me, and Chris encapsulating and encompassing the negative guy, the bad guy. And then these energies combined. Chris, what did you see? What did you experience?
I didn't think the spirit, when I channeled him the first time up in the bedroom, was so powerful. I didn't think it was so strong. But when we when we went down into the living room, that's when things changed. That's when he kind of got a bit stronger, and the energy that was coming into me was more foul. I remember I wanted to throw up. I remember I was feeling really queasy, and
you spit on Alex too.
Yeah, I spit on Alex, and I remember I felt like confused. I felt like it was attacking my head, my brain, and it was making me confused. It was making it very hard for me to concentrate on what I really needed to do, which was hold him into me and break down its energy. And it made it very difficult. You know, he kind of tricked me because up in the room, he seemed a bit soft, a bit, I want to say, not so strong. And then when we went downstairs and actually did it, he actually was stronger than what I expected, which kind of, you know, I didn't expect that. I mean, not that it was a problem because we pretty much kicked his ass pretty quickly. I would say about an hour, but
yeah, maybe longer.
Maybe longer, maybe an hour and a half, whatever it was. But that's what I was feeling, Vic.
Okay, and in essence, the process. I just want to clarify for our listeners what the process is. Chris actually takes this energy into himself, with the help of his guides, with the help of all the energy, the work that he does, and his own strength and his own intention to neutralize this energy, the negative energy, to neutralize it, to ground it, to send it away permanently, so that it never returns. This can manifest. Yes, Tamara, go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. And what I'm about to say actually has to do with the white light that Jeremy saw in his experience when he was a boy.
Right.
When all of this was going on, and the entity was in Chris now, and everybody's working, he's working to try and get it out. Victor, at one point, and I feel like everything happened like in a blur, but at one point you were standing over Chris, and this voice came out of you, and it was otherworldly. It was like angels all singing at once. And at that point, I saw this white light come through my living room window and over by Chris, and this thing was standing right in front of him, and it was pulling this thing out. And I actually took a picture because I was taking pictures like crazy that day.
A phenomenal picture. Phenomenal picture.
You know what I'm talking about. The one with your faces morphing, and it looks like you have like two different faces on, your own and this thing. And there is a gold hand right in front of your face, and it's pulling the entity out.
Yeah.
And I swear, I think to this day, that was the hand of God coming into my home to get this thing out. I have no other way to describe it. It could have been Archangel Michael. It could have been, it could have been Archangel Michael. But that day, I'll never forget that moment as long as I live.
I will post that picture tomorrow that you're talking about. So those of you who are on Facebook, that are friends with me on Facebook, you can check it out. I'm going to put it out there tomorrow. For those of you who are not my friend, you could friend me under C. George, C-E-E George. Tom, you had something you wanted to say?
It's actually a question for Tamara. Tamara, you mentioned about your father, how he came through and you had to forgive him. When he passed away, was there any like strong negative emotions or anything toward your father at that time?
Well, I found out very recently that he passed away the year that I was married. I never got to know my biological father. I have one picture with me as a baby sitting on his lap. Outside of that picture, unfortunately, I never got to know him when he was alive. And from what I've been told, he spent a good portion of his life trying to find me and my younger sister. And he never did. So when he died, he went with all this guilt of not finding either one of us.
Interesting.
So when you found out he passed away, I mean, you were obviously grieving because you never met him as an adult, correct?
Correct. I never met him as a child either, from what I can recall.
So, gentlemen, can this be part of that, like, where, like, you sometimes will have, like, if you're grieving for a loved one or if there's a strong negative emotion toward a loved one, you can actually have that crack in your aura where something can attach?
That's a good question. Vic, you want to handle that one?
That is a good question.
Tom, I think that's not the case. In this specific situation, that's not the case. What it basically happened was, in the context of the work that Chris was doing that day, and that I unwittingly, because this actually happened without my allowing it to happen, this sort of came through me. Her birth father, coming through me. I think that was part of the divine plan. I think that was a divine or an energetic setup that he had to come through me, because in that moment that he came through and asked for forgiveness and she forgave him, the power that came into that room, what she described, because I don't even remember this thing about my voice, this heavenly voice coming out of me. I don't remember anything about that. So I might have been in full trance when that happened. And then the light into the room. This was all the culmination of Chris containing the negative entity, of Father asking forgiveness, of blood that was flowing and really healing this family unit, and then being taken away, and then the energy being taken away. So I got to say, Chris, of all the work we've done together, that was probably for me the most moving day that I can remember. That was just pretty amazing.
It was amazing. You know what was amazing about it is you could see Tamara's daughter Maddie when it was over. She just kind of like it was like she could breathe. It was like
she was totally different person.
Breathe again.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I thought that was amazing.
Yep.
I mean, that night when she went to bed and she looked at me and she hugged me and she thanked me for getting you guys in, and she's like, "Mom, I can finally sleep in my room now. I feel like this is my room." That I just lost it, because, you know, again, if you're a parent, you want to protect your kids from any harm, and when you're dealing with an entity or something, you know, supernatural that you can't see or touch, and you're trying to explain to people what's going on, and they're basically looking at you like you need to be admitted into a psych ward, it was a very frustrating time. And even my own husband was skeptical, and this entity had us fighting, and, you know, it was getting to the point where we were talking separation, because, you know, he was on one side and I was on the other, and, you know, he was very skeptical until the night that we switched rooms, and the next morning I said, "Oh, well, how did you sleep?" And he says, "Well, I slept fine, but I heard a lot of commotion going on in the other room." And I said, "Yeah, this thing was shaking our bed again." And at that point, he just looked at me. He's like, "We got to get this guy in this house and get rid of this thing once and for all."
And
at that point, he started believing.
Yeah. And Tamara, and I'm saying this on behalf of Chris and all of us who do this work. That's what this work is really about. You know, you take some of these paranormal teams who come charging into a person's home, collect what they want as evidence to prove that they found something, and really do nothing, absolutely nothing for the family. And the family is left in a lurch with no resolution, no satisfaction, no peace. And I think before I ever met Chris, doing the work that I've been doing, I swore that if I ever encountered a family who was suffering, that before I would do anything else, I would make that family ease their suffering, heal their suffering, and make sure that they were comfortable and peaceful in their home. And I think Chris will say an amen to that, because that's really what we swear to do.
I will say an amen to that, and that's a huge pet peeve of mine, Victor. As you know, teams that go in and they don't help, they don't do anything, and Tamara could talk about this. We taught her things that night. We taught her about space clearing and how to protect herself and her family, and how to clear the space in her home. You know, and Tamara, you could talk on that a bit.
So much. You again. After that day, that's all I wanted to do was learn how to do what you guys do. And I said, if this is in me and it's been in me for generations, then why can't I use it to help people? So I started taking your psychic development classes. You taught me how to clear space so well that now I do it. Thank you very much, Obi-Wan. And, it gives me a good feeling to help somebody. And I have helped quite a few people that went through or are going through something to what I was going through.
And doesn't it feel great?
Obviously, if it's bigger than me, I'm going to call you. But so far, it's just been a lot of negative build-up, negative energy, residual negative energy. And there are a lot of people out here that have a lot of residual negative energy. A lot.
Oh, yeah. But you know what, Tamara? The truth is that's everywhere. It's not just over here. It's everywhere, And Victor, I'd like to talk about this in the second hour about clearing space. I think it's important to talk about that. And I think so many of our listeners that are probably listening tonight have no idea what that even is. And it's important to know it. It's a resource. It's something that you can do to really help yourself, help your family. And you know what, Jeremy, I would love for you to tell about Kenesha's daughter with the dreams and what how I taught you about the space clearing, what that did, because I think that's important.
Yeah. So the baby, she was a couple months away from being 3, and she was having night terrors. She was waking up 4, 5, 6 times a night. It was just ridiculous. There was nothing. And I come to Chris. I'm like, dude, what can I do? And he walked me through everything. He told me exactly what I needed to go get in Florida water and holy water and some cinnamon and some sugar and orange peel and some sage. And I went in the room and went in my room and I mixed up everything, and then I went and meditated for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and he said it's not about the potency of the mixture, it's about the potency of the intent that you put into the mixture.
Amen.
And so I sat there and I put my intent in this bottle, and I called upon Archangel Raphael and Archangel Michael to charge the item. And then afterwards I went in the room and I sprayed around all the doorways and the windowways first, all the door frames, and then I just sprayed the whole damn room, floor, ceiling, didn't matter, did it all. And then I took the sage and lit it, and same thing, I went around the doorways and the windows with the sage with the same intent of protection and peace. And then I come back with the cinnamon sugar and burnt it in the middle of the room.
Well, it's important to say the cinnamon sugar is for love. Cinnamon sugar brings love into the house, and it works. That's all I'm going to tell you. Cinnamon sugar, you burn it on the charcoal, and you do a little shamanic ritual. I promise you, it works.
We also used orange peel afterwards. So I don't know if I was supposed to stack it all on top of each other, but I did. So, but it worked. She sleeps through the night now, and it's great. And she doesn't go to bed anymore. She just turned 3, and she's completely out of pull-ups, everything.
And that's exactly what Chris was talking about. So it's a question of helping and empowering people. Because just to go in and say, yeah, you got a ghost here and we got our evidence and goodbye, and leaving them like that, you haven't brought them resolution, you haven't brought them peace. We bring them resolution and peace, and we empower them to continue to have that peace in their home.
It's important, Victor. If you think about it, Alex and Beatrice, they met me. I was on a television show. They saw me. I was talking about angels, I believe, and they gave me a call. I did an exorcism for them. they've been two of my closest friends for about 7 years now.
Yep.
Met Tamara, did exorcism work for her. One of my very close friends, psychic development student, and honestly, guys, she does an amazing job with that as well.
Absolutely.
A lot of the people. No, it's true, Tamara. I don't say anything I don't mean. But it's absolutely
I know
true.
you do.
You put in a lot of effort, and the results are there. So, and I'm very result driven in what I do. So, a lot of the people that I've done exorcisms for are not just lifelong friends, but I have some really close friends that I've made through this, and as well as you, Victor.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, that's the first hour. I want to know, Tamara, is there anything else you wanna say before we end the first hour?
Actually, yes. It's a question that somebody posted on the Vision Quest on Facebook, and it kind of piqued my interest too. So I'm going to ask it: is possession ancestral?
It can be. Victor, you want to go? Take that?
That's a big one. Why don't we wait for the second hour for that? Why don't we take the break now and then wait for the second hour?
And Tamara, if you would like to stay on the line and come back for the second hour, you absolutely could.
Please.
Oh, well, thank you, guys.
Thank
All right,
you.
well, why don't we take a break? Victor, you want to take us on the break?
Yes, you're listening to Vision Quest on the DTM Wicked Radio Network, and we will be back.
All right. Hello? Who's that? Whoa! Water!
Rolling Hills Asylum, Located in East Bethany, New York, just minutes between two major airports, Rolling Hills Asylum is a hotbed of paranormal activity. They have been featured on Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Challenge, as well as Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters. Rolling Hills Asylum has been named the #2 most haunted location in the United States by HauntedNorthAmerica.com. The property was established on January 1st, 1827 as the county poor farm. Throughout the years, it has operated as a poor farm, infirmary, orphanage, tuberculosis hospital, nursing home, and more. Past residents and inmates consist of widows, orphans, physically disabled, mentally unstable, murderers, and more. Over 1,700 bodies are buried in unmarked graves, and hundreds more deaths went undocumented. Rolling Hills Asylum is known for a plethora of phenomena, including disembodied voices, doors slamming, footsteps, sounds of furniture moving, full-body apparitions, shadow people, ghostly touches, and numerous Class A EVP. Rolling Hills Asylum proudly offers historical and flashlight tours, 4- and 8-hour public ghost hunts, 8- and 9-hour private ghost hunts, and more, by appointment or pre-booking only. For more information, please visit www.rollinghillsasylum.com. That's www.rollinghillsasylum.com. Or give them a call, 585-502-4066. That's 585-502-4066.
The Caring Coaching Center is a proud sponsor of DTM Wicked Radio Network. What would it mean to you to have better health, more energy, more vitality, and an all-around better life? At the Caring Coaching Center, our mission is to be your partner in helping you reach your health, fitness, and lifestyle goals. We do this through a dynamic 6-month program that helps our clients reach their goals and their full potential. And it all starts with a free, no obligation, 50-minute health history consultation.
Rolling Hills Asylum. Located in East Bethany, New York, just minutes between two major airports, Rolling Hills Asylum is a hotbed of paranormal activity. They have been featured on Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Challenge, as well as Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters. Rolling Hills Asylum has been named the #2 most haunted location in the United States by HauntedNorthAmerica.com. The property was established on January 1st, 1827 as the county poor farm. Throughout the years, it has operated as a poor farm, infirmary, orphanage, tuberculosis hospital, nursing home, and more. Past residents and inmates consist of widows, orphans, physically disabled, mentally unstable, murderers, and more. Over 1,700 bodies are buried in unmarked graves, and hundreds more deaths went undocumented. Rolling Hills Asylum is known for a plethora of phenomena, including disembodied voices, doors slamming, footsteps, sounds of furniture moving, full-body apparitions, shadow people, ghostly touches, and numerous Class A EVP. Rolling Hills Asylum proudly offers historical and flashlight tours, 4- and 8-hour public ghost hunts, 8- and 9-hour private ghost hunts, and more, by appointment or pre-booking only. For more information, please visit www.rollinghillsasylum.com. That's www.rollinghillsasylum.com. Or give them a call, 585-502.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Vision Quest Hour #2. The first hour, we were speaking with Tamara Costantino. Did I say that? I hope I said your last name right. Talking about her personal exorcism experience. Fascinating first hour. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Joined with, of course, Victor the Voice Furman and Jeremy Moonshine Adams, and special guest Tom. What do we call you, Tom?
Tom the Sissy Gillespie.
Mr. Tom Gillespie, lead investigator for Second Sight Paranormal. Glad to have you here with us tonight, Tom. And, of course, Tamara. What an amazing first hour, I have to say. Jeremy, anything you want to say about the first hour? Anything that stuck out to you?
Well, her story is, touching. I mean, anytime that a child is involved, you can't help. You can be the hardest son of a bitch on the face of the earth, but if a child comes up to you with a plastic phone, you're going to answer it.
That's right.
Your heart goes out immediately to that family, and I can see where you were stressed the F out and couldn't take anymore. So,
Jeremy, why don't we?
Thank you for being.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just
Jeremy,
going to say thank you.
No, you go first, and then we're going to keep doing this back and forth. Go ahead. You finish your statement first.
I was just going to say thank you for being strong and making it through, not only for your family, for yourself, but for your family also.
Amen.
Well,
absolutely.
I hate to sound cliche, but it's the saying is true. You don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice that you have. And
Amen.
at that point,
true.
I had to be strong because this thing was feeding off of any negative feeling you could put out there. Anything.
Absolutely.
And,
Jeremy, before we talk, I'm sorry, Tamara. I have a big mouth tonight. Go ahead.
No. During the whole process, when we were doing the exorcism, I remember Beatrice, because I got angry. I mean, this thing came at me and said, "I'm going to eat your daughter's soul," and I was like, "Oh hell no!" And I said a few choice words, and Beatrice stopped me and said, "Look, I know you're upset and you're angry. This thing is attacking your daughter. Don't give into it. Just be calm. Don't say anything."
Absolutely.
And you know what?
Yeah,
That's the way. You have to be that way. You have to be that way because what happens is, and Victor could talk on this as well, they feed off of the negative. And if you're throwing negative at them, it just makes it harder for myself and Victor to work with it because we're fighting its negative energy and then what you're also feeding it. Vic, you want to talk on that?
No, you said it already, but I just want to say props to Beatrice and Mork and Alex because they're just wonderful people. And Beatrice is like
the mom.
Are. She's the one who gives the motherly advice and does it so well. And she has so much compassion and love in that soul of hers that it's just a pleasure to be in her presence. And Alex too. And I love the both of them. And we don't see each other enough, and we have to remedy that situation very soon. But I think before we answer that question about the whether demonic attachments or attachments of any kind can be passed on through family lines. Jeremy, why don't you pick up that question that Denny had from the chat room?
Hold on a second. Let me click over there real quick. Chris, what does it mean if you have a picture taken and a black mask covering your face in a picture and then in the next picture seeing it move away? Is that a demonic or negative spirit? And that is from Twitter.
Okay, it could be a couple things. It could be demonic. It could be negative. It could be sickness. A lot of times, what people don't realize is sickness comes out as black on pictures. It's not always a demonic thing. It's not always a negative entity thing. A lot of times, it could be sickness. It could be cancer. It could be lupus. It could be whatever. Vic, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Black masses or any type of mist of any kind do not necessarily have negative connotations. Black could just be confusion. Black could be the absence of light. Black could be absorbing all light. It could be absorbing all energy. So it really depends on the context under which it happened and what the person was feeling at the time and what others around were feeling at the time.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Yeah. And I know, Tom, you have quite a few of these pictures with the black masters, right?
Yeah, I was on an investigation helping out another team up in Massachusetts, and we were helping out a family, once again, with children, our highest priority possible. And there was a dark entity that was basically taking all the negative energy that the family was generating is what it came down to. And it was just feeding off this just consistently. And we got about at least a good 3 pictures of this entity that was basically just sucking the life out of this family. I can put them up in a minute.
And let me ask you a question. Now, you did an investigation there, right?
Yes.
Was there anything done to remedy this or no?
We did a house cleansing. Kelly Spangler did a house cleansing of the entire property using oils, sage, and whatnot. And the family has been completely content since then. In fact, we just did a follow-up with them about 2 weeks ago.
And everything is good?
Everything is good. Everything is very good. Once they knew actual what was going on, it was really interesting is during the EVPs that I was conducting is like the acknowledgement that we are giving this entity. Again, we don't know 100% of the spirits there were all against him. But what was interactive with him is when I was explaining what each piece of equipment was doing, you could hear a spirit coming through and going, "Oh," I would say, "All right, well, this is a oh my God, I'm trying to remember. I used so much equipment. I used the spirit box, and I was explaining what it was, and you could hear a voice going, "Oh," each time, like when it was understanding what was going on. So it was definitely intelligent too.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Speaking of Spirit Box, before we go on with the rest of this evening's program, someone mentioned that one of the gentlemen who invented one of the Spirit Boxes passed away.
The gentleman who invented it.
Yes.
Frank something, I think his name is. He's the one. He just passed away a couple days ago.
In fact, there's a fund right now raising money for his funeral costs.
Chris, did you ever meet him or speak with him?
I never met him. I did use his equipment before. I'm a big fan of it. I'm a very big fan of the Frank box or the Ghost box or whatever you want to call it. I've had some amazing results with it. I'll tell you guys a fast story. I guess it was 2011 maybe. I headlined I think it was 2011 Paranormal Convention here in New York, and I gave a lecture. I did readings on stage. I did a 4-hour broadcast of the whole thing, and I led one of the investigations. And I had the privilege, and I call it a privilege because I have a lot of respect for these people. I had the privilege of working with C.C. Carroll, the Huntress, and oh God, I can't think of his name. Rick Hayes, a phenomenal psychic medium. And I have to say, it was that investigation that made me feel that I could work with anybody. That I didn't have to feel that because somebody was, very well known, on television or anything like that, that I had to take a back seat to them. Because I'll tell you what, I pretty much ran that investigation, and I worked, side by side with Rick Hayes, who again is absolutely amazing. And we did a Frank Box session, and I said, there's a spirit here named Lord James. He keeps saying Lord James, and my hand to God, 4 times that Frank Box said Lord James. It was amazing, and I love working with the Frank Box, with the Ghost Box, whatever you want to call it. Good stuff. So you junior investigators out there, guys and girls who have never investigated before, that's a piece of equipment that I would recommend. I thoroughly enjoy using it. I don't know about you guys, but I really like using it.
Rest in peace, Frank. Rest in peace,
right,
Frank.
There we go. So
the question was raised about whether or not families can have lineages or genetically or passing down attachments, possessions, and this type of thing. And Chris, I'll let you talk about possessions and attachments, but I'll share something out of my personal experience.
Yeah.
I come from a family where my grandfather was very spiritual and very psychic. I obviously inherited from my grandfather because neither of my parents had any of this stuff. And my daughter is very open. So what happened was when my daughter was very young, spirits would come to her all the time. She was born, I use the expression born open. She didn't have to work to develop it. It was there, and it was there when she was really young, and they just kept bothering her to the extent that it really, really troubled her. And I had to teach her how to turn it off and how to use her intention to switch off and say, you know what, I know you guys are out there. This is not the appropriate time to talk to me. And she did it. She did it very successfully. So that if there's a family that has a lineage of psychic ability, of empathic ability, They are like beacons who attract spirit. Now, I'm not talking about attachment. I'm not talking about possession. Just to attract spirit, because the spirit sees them and says, aha, there's someone who can understand me, or there's someone I can communicate with. So is there a lineage of family that people can attract spirit and have spirit present and be in communication? Yes, 100% I know this to be a fact from my personal experience. Now, can a family have a curse where an attachment or an entity is passed down from generation to generation? Chris, I'm going to let you take that.
I've seen it. This is one of those topics that I think you have to see it to believe it. I've been involved with cases where the families have spoken about how their grandmother, this was happening to their mother, and it was happening to their grandmother, and it happened to their great grandmother. So to me, that shows that it can be passed on. And I'd say I've probably seen it at least 10 or 15 times. And I have to say, it always amazes me, because I think, why didn't you do something, 3 generations ago, so you don't have to deal with it now? I don't know, Vic. What do you think?
It could possibly just be ignorance, that they're not aware, that it may be attributed, especially a couple hundred years ago, mental illness, schizophrenia, things of this nature. It's very possible that there's just not an awareness, and people think of it as the family curse. That's something that's passed down from generation to generation. I think the main thing is when someone in the current generation identifies it or says something that they have a sense about this, they need to reach out to people like you, Chris, and remedy the situation and stop it for once and for all.
Yeah. I mean, you said the word ignorance, and I don't know that I want to say ignorance, because I think people just don't know. I think people just don't know better. Okay, you want to say ignorance? I guess that is ignorance. But you're right. I'm a big believer, and thank God for shows like this. And not just our shows. There's a lot of really good shows out there on the internet when it comes to paranormal and stuff like that. Not too many, not as good as ours, but that's a whole other story. But what I'm trying to say is that we're a resource. We could. What is that noise? That's driving me crazy. Anyway,
that is really weird. Hang on, guys. Hang on a second. Hang on. I'm going to mute myself. Tell me if it goes away. I'm muting right now.
Nope, it's still there.
Okay, everybody on Skype.
What is that?
Mute. Time. One at a time, mute. Okay, who just muted?
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Somebody just muted.
That must have been me for some reason. I don't know what, though, but I've been here ever since we've been doing this show. There's some I got some stuff going on in my apartment. So
maybe you need a space clearing.
I wouldn't doubt, because every single time I'm on the show with you guys and we're talking about this, I mean, I've been hearing like knocks and everything coming from the room in the back.
Chris, he doesn't. Chris, I just want to tell you, he doesn't need space clearing. He doesn't need the space clearing in his head, because there's space between his ears already, which is pretty clear. So
all he has to do is let Jackie out of the closet, and then
no. I think this is a perfect time to talk about space clearing, and I'm going to give you guys a for instance. Okay. You ever notice that when you're outside, everything is okay, you're happy, everything is good. Then when you get in the house, and we'll use a female, okay? You go into the house, and the first thing you do is you argue with your boyfriend or your husband. Your kids get on your nerves. You're instantly agitated when you walk into your home. You want to know what that is? That's because you need to do some space clearing. Not only you, but everybody in your home and everybody who's been in your home, people that have owned your home or apartment before you, leave what is called energetic imprints behind, okay? And it's very important to clear your space of those energetic imprints, especially if they're negative. And how could you do that? There's a couple ways. I'm a big believer. Most people are very into the whole shamanic smudging with sage or sweetgrass or dragon's blood. They're very into that.
Orange peel.
And that's good. That's good. Well, I'm going to get to the orange peel in a second. That's good. Okay. It helps. It helps. It cleanses on one level, okay? But then there's something that cleanses on a second level, and that's orange peel, dried orange peel. You take the orange, you cut it, the peel, and you scoop out the white until it's just the orange peel. You dry it out on your, your windowsill or in your boiler room, or if you have a boiler room, or your laundry room. You dry it out till it gets hard, and you use that in your shamanic ritual where you burn it and you say, you put out very positive intentions and you say very positive things. I mean, we're not going to get into everything that you say because we don't have the time for that. But we should probably do a show on that, Victor, where we tell people exactly what to say and how to go about it. But it's very important to clear space, because what you'll find is as soon as you clear space, and don't think you're going to do it one time and it's done. I would suggest doing it every week until you start feeling the change, because it takes time. Space clearing is about intention as much as it's about anything else. If your intention isn't pure, if your intention isn't strong, you might as well not even do it, because you're not doing anything. It's all about the intent. Vic, I know you got to say something about that.
Yeah, there's a number of ways of doing space clearing, but the technique or the ceremony is what your comfort level allows, or what your experience level allows, or what your faith or religious background allows, because, again, it's just the intention. Everything is energy. Everything in this universe is energy. And space clearing is taking energy, which is, the word negative is a bad word to use in terms of energy, because energy is neither negative nor positive. Energy is energy. It's the intention behind the energy, or the intention in using the energy, that results in either a negative outcome or a positive outcome. So that being said, if for some reason there's negatively intended energy in your home, you want to transmute that to positively intended energy. And it's a combination of intention, which is 99% of it, and then whatever ritual or ceremony helps you to visualize or sense that this is taking place. So saging is an example. Citrus saging is an example. There's a number of feng shui techniques that I've learned that can be used for this process. Chris has many, many processes. Just about everyone who's done a serious study of the paranormal field and the metaphysical field knows rituals for space clearing. The easiest one to do, and the one that doesn't require you to have anything else, is just to go to each corner of each room in your home, and in your heart and in your mind have the intention that all negatively intended energy be dispersed. And if it helps you to visualize it by moving your hand in a circular motion in a corner of a room and doing it, and then using your hand to whisk it away or push it away, or using a feather to whisk it away or push it away, or whatever works for you in visualization, because that's what ceremony is. Ceremony and ritual are tools that are used to help you visualize the movement of energy. So if you go from corner to corner to corner to corner and whisk away the energy, the negatively intended energy, and then have the intention immediately that only positivity and light fills that space, you've done the space clearing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jeremy, please.
Vic, when I had surgery on my shoulder, I went to a Reiki master and had them, perform their ceremony on me. And I asked him at the end, I'm like, I feel a little bit better. And I kept going back to them. They also taught Tai Chi there. But anyways, I asked him, how do you do that? And he said the main thing is just imagine pulling the energy out of the earth through your feet. Imagine your feet grow roots into the earth and it's sucking up the energy, and then through your hands, imagine yourself as a tree and your hands are the branches, and you're just using yourself as a conduit for that energy to place it in a specific spot. But
Absolutely.
That's what he said.
It's a visualization technique, absolutely. That helps you to have a sense of what the energy is doing. Chris, I just want to comment on something. When I use the word ignorance, the word ignorant or ignoramus can be used as an insult to say that someone is stupid. But I use the word ignorance as someone who is unaware, who doesn't have consciousness about something, or doesn't have comprehension, or just doesn't have knowledge about something. Not in a negative way. It's just something that they haven't either studied or had the experience in their life at that point in time. So when I talk about ignorance in past generations, it's, well, you know what? When you see a person who is acting in a certain way, in that day, it was considered to be a mental illness. It was considered to be some type of brain defect or whatever it might be. until we understood more about the science of the brain and the science of energy and also the science of paranormal.
Absolutely. I got you. Tom, do you want to mention anything? Do you have anything you want to say about space clearing? Yes, no? Or I can move on.
I mean, as far as space clearing, about anything trying to attach to me, like when I was trying to, like when I was at my home, I didn't do really any space clearing because I felt that if I'm going to be like a true investigator, I mean, I need to experience what I can when I can. I mean, when I do an investigation and something follows me, I mean, sometimes my place will act up. I almost feel that it's probably like one spirit kind of like almost like having a showdown with another spirit, and then it calms down after that, where it's sort of like when you get like you buy like two kittens or two cats, and they kind of go at it a little bit, and they finally like learn to like live with each other. If that makes any sense, that's the metaphor that I always use. But I've done the space clearing with you. I've done it with the other groups that I've worked with. Normally, I mean, if I feel there's anything with me that I feel is something that's going to be intentionally harmful, I mean, I do ask the presence to leave. I mean, I give the authoritative figure of, I use the, by the authority of God, I ask you to leave and whatnot. And normally, I've been lucky, and that pretty much solves the issue.
Yeah, well, you're doing something right.
I hope.
Can I ask a question?
I don't know.
Yeah,
sure, Tamara, go ahead.
When you do your investigations, do you ground yourself? Because I know whenever I do space clearing or whenever I've been invited by Chris George to do jobs with him, we always ground ourselves prior to doing any work. Do you do that for yourself?
First of all, I thought Chris stopped doing jobs years ago. I thought that was something he gave up, and he's leading a straight life now. He doesn't do full jobs anymore. But
just the Italian job.
Oh God!
I thought that gang was put to bed. They don't do that anymore.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Tamara. I'm just being funny. We need a little funniness
I know you are.
because it's been such a heavy topic. The answer is obviously yes. Anybody who is an energy worker or light worker, if you want to use the phrase, of any kind, knows that in the process of doing their work, they have to do a couple of things before they do the work. One is to do whatever form of protection works for them. And again, intention. It's all about intention. And then whatever creative visualization or ritual makes you feel comfortable with the outcome of your intention. And the other thing is grounding. And grounding can be as simple as sensing yourself, as Jeremy so aptly put it, with your feet being roots that go down into the earth, and that you're connected to Mother Earth, and that Mother Earth is taking away anything that's not positive and just reinforcing and allowing positive energy to flow through you. So yes, those are two great examples of that. I have a quick space clearing example. It comes from Feng Shui, something that I studied a couple of years ago. And this is something everyone listening tonight can do in their homes at any time. And it's a really nice one because you don't have to burn anything. So a lot of people are sensitive to burning sage and even burning orange peel. But it does involve oranges. And here's the ritual and ceremony. It's really simple. If you want to write it down, you can do that. What you want to do is have a large bowl and fill that bowl with either spring water or clear distilled water. Preferably not tap water, because tap water does have chemicals in it. So spring water or distilled water in a bowl, a nice size like a big salad bowl. Then you take 9 oranges. 9 oranges. 9 is a very powerful number in Feng Shui. And from each orange, you take a knife and you cut out 9 circles of the orange peel, about ½ inch each. So if you can imagine taking an orange, because some people find that difficult to do, and just take the knife and let it rest against the edge, the circumference of the orange, along the 4 sides, the top and the bottom, the left and the right. Eventually, you'll be able to easily cut 9 small circles, about ½ inch each, from each orange. So you have 9 oranges, 9 circles each. 9 times 9 is 81. You're going to end up with 81 pieces of these little circles, nickel-sized pieces of orange peel. And if you know 81, 8 plus 1 is 9, so we're dealing with 9. Again, a very powerful number in Feng Shui. You put those orange peels into the water, and then you add a little bit of salt. It can be sea salt, it could be kosher salt, table, it doesn't matter. A little bit of salt, maybe a a half a teaspoon, and you mix it all around. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice is there's going to be this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance coming off of oranges. Your house is going to smell beautiful. It's this beautiful smell of oranges. Citrus is known as a very powerful cleanser. If you think about cleaners, lemon cleaners, orange scented cleaners, etc., citrus is very powerful in terms of cleaning. And then what you do is you take this wonderful bowl of these orange peels floating with the water, and you go to the first room that you want to cleanse, and you can start in a corner. Now, if you don't have direct access to a corner, that's okay, because we're using intention. So if you can't actually get to the corner, your intention is that you're actually at that corner, even if you're physically not capable of getting to that corner. If there's more than 4 corners, for example, if you have like 3 corners and like an alcove, which is split, so you have really 5 corners, just, again, the intention. You have, every room has 4 corners. If it's a round room, there are 4 corners there. Dissect it into a circle. Anyway, so you go to the first corner, and what you do is you take your beautiful bowl of orange water, and you dip your fingers in just to get them wet, and then you sprinkle 3 times into that corner, and with each sprinkle, you are sending out the intention of dispelling any negatively charged energy and only replacing it with beautiful, positive, and clean energy. And you go to each corner of each room in your house, and when you're done, you leave the bowl of orange water on the top of your stove, and the next day you pour it out and you dispose of the orange peels in your garbage. And that's a beautiful, easy to do feng shui cleansing ceremony.
Nice.
That's a very, 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 very good. Very good. And people should listen to that. You guys should do it. It works. I mean, if it works, it's tried and proven. Do it. Right, Victor?
Absolutely. And again, your intention. If you don't want to do oranges, do something else. Sprinkle fairy dust. It doesn't matter. It's the intention of what you're doing that really... The nice thing about the orange peel water is that it gives that beautiful fragrance. Your house smells like an orange grove.
That's true. You know what I want to talk a little bit about? Because we're talking about exorcism. A lot of times you have to do an exorcism because of attachment. And there are signs for attachment. And I'm going to give you guys a few. All right? And look for this in other people. Because a lot of times people don't realize that they're attached. So it's up to us to realize it. You know what I mean? If you're feeling tired and depleted of energy, suffering mood swings, or impulsive behavior, unexplained bursts of anger, sadness, or emotion, hearing inner voices, a feeling that this isn't me. Do you ever wonder, did I say that or did I do that? Problems with addictions. Addictions are a big thing. Poor memory, concentration, or confusion. Has there been a sudden onset of anxiety or depression? Has there been a sudden onset of physical problems or pain with no, obvious cause? Unexplained fears, phobias, panic attacks. I know I'm saying a lot of things, but these are all signs, people. Worrying or disturbing nightmares. You have a feeling of being watched or experience unexplained sensations, a smell perhaps, a distortion of space. That's a big one. You have feelings of uneasiness, cold areas in your home, or sense of another presence when nobody else is around. Is there a feeling of depression around you that just doesn't make sense? These are all telltale signs. Couple other things. Someone who, begins cursing a lot when it's out of character for them. Notice if they suddenly have an aversion to religious objects. They may be a person who normally goes to church, but suddenly they despise the thought. Look for evidence of self-mutilation, big thing. Look for changes in the way the person dresses. Observe their personal hygiene and look for changes. Look for evidence of occult material, that are around them. These are all telltale signs. I said a lot. I don't know, maybe you guys want to add a few more, but these are telltale signs of possible, I don't want to say absolute, but possible attachment. Attachments happen every single day, people. Who are the easiest to be attached? People that have addictions, people that are addicted to alcohol, to drugs, to pain pills, people who are on anxiety medicine. Because what happens is your constitution is weakened. It makes it much easier for negative entities to attach to you when your constitution is weakened. And that happens when you have addictions. Now, it doesn't have to be just addictions to drugs or alcohol or stuff like that. It could also be addictions to sexual addictions. It could be gambling addictions. any type of addiction that takes your strength away, your power away. It makes it easier for negativity to attach to you. That's why it's important to protect yourself. It's important to disperse the negative when you see it. Anytime during the day, when I'm out during the day, if there's any negativity thrown to me, I acknowledge it and I disperse it. And I say, okay, I acknowledge that negativity that just hit me, but I'm sending it back out into the universe in the most positive of ways. Always send it away in a positive, okay? Vic, you want to add anything to that?
I think Jeremy had a question, then I'll add something to that.
No, I did not.
Yes, Jeremy, in the chat room you had a question. Didn't you have a question?
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Actually,
he does have a question.
Well, I actually got kicked out of chat and had to come back, so everything is. What's the difference between an exorcism and a?
No. Before that, there's a question. It says someone. Okay, the question was Chris. You had mentioned. Oh, Jeremy got it. Go ahead, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Ask is someone who has Tourette's. Do they have an attachment? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
No, I don't think they have an attachment at all. I think I think Tourette's is a sickness, and that's important to know. You know, there are people that are sick. There are people that have Tourette's or whatever. Any other type of what would you call Tourette's? Not a disease.
It's a tick. It's a tick.
No, I don't consider that to be an attachment. No, absolutely not.
Okay. Just to follow up on what you were saying, Chris, I think it's really important for everyone I want to repeat what Chris said. When you're clearing negatively intended energy, it's really important that you acknowledge that you're asking the earth to take that energy and recycle it as positive energy. And that's something that everyone should do in all of these energy works. Because Mother Earth is wonderful. She will take all negative energy and will convert it and transmute it into positive energy, positively intended energy. So she's the great cleanser in the universe. Chris, another clear sign of attachment is when your Siamese twin wants to go one place and you want to go someplace else, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That never works, man. That never works.
That's right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. We got a question from Kathy in the chat room, our wonderful friend Kathy. What is the difference between an exorcism and a deliverance?
Well, some people think that they're one and the same. And it depends on who you talk to. Vic, what do you say?
Well, basically, the expression deliverance is used in certain Southern Christian churches for the driving out of negative spirits. So that's what deliverance is. So deliverance is really attached specifically to a specific church, whereas exorcism could be, starting with the Catholic Church, but in reality, any place, and including the work that we do.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions? Jeremy, I sent you some questions that people from Facebook asked us.
Can a person and a demon live peacefully together? And the first thing that comes to mind is Sorceress Cagliostro.
Well, she's a different thing altogether. I mean, she works with demons, and most people not only don't work with demons, they can't. That what she has is a gift, and she works with demons in a different way than what we know. She works hand in hand with them. They help her. She does exorcisms with them as her like right hand. So with her it's a little bit different. What I'll say is this: with demon, no, you can't live. Absolutely not. But with a negative entity that's attached to you, yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I think more than half the world is living with negative attachments. I would say probably 3/4 of the world. Vic. Maybe more, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so.
So my answer to that would be yes, they can live together. Not demonic, absolutely not demonic, but negative, yes. Because I think a lot of times what happens is these negative entities, they find a home, and they don't need to use your energy. They don't need to do negative things to you. They just want a home, and they live within you, and they live peacefully within you, actually, until something happens, and then they're not. So that's what I would say to that.
I have a quick follow-up, though, on the question Kathy asked about the difference between an exorcism and a deliverance. For a deliverance, picture Tom Gillespie sitting on the porch with a banjo strumming it. That's my impression of a deliverance.
Are you sure it'd be his banjo that he was strumming?
Here we go. We must be getting close to the end of the show.
Oh yeah. Starting to go downhill real fast.
Jeremy, you had another question there.
Yes. Are some just mischievous little buggers that are just kind of mean but not full out evil?
Oh, without a doubt. Vic, I mean, come on, you answer that one, Vic. I mean, that's a given.
Jeremy, I'm sorry, that broke up for me. Say that one more time.
Are some of these attachments just mischievous little boogers that are just kind of mean but not full out evil?
I don't know what that means, to be honest with you. If there's a negatively intended spirit, it's a negatively intended spirit. If it does something that causes someone discomfort, the word evil really shouldn't apply, because evil is a judgment. It's a human judgment. If it's doing something that's causing you problems, it's negatively intended, bottom line. Right, Chris? I mean, that's the way
I agree with you completely.
I agree.
I usually do. Go ahead, Tamara.
I agree. I agree with Victor. And actually, I have somebody here that shouldn't be up right now, but she wants to say a quick hi to you, gentlemen, if that's okay.
I bet you it's Maddie.
Hi.
Hi, Maddie.
How are you?
Good.
Do you want to say anything to our listeners? Just so you guys know, this is a lovely young lady that we assisted with the exorcism. And would you like to say how your life has changed since then, maybe?
Oh, yes. I love it because, well, one, I'm able to sleep, and two, I don't have to live in fear anymore.
Wow.
And how old are you?
I'm 11.
11.
Wow.
So, I think it's important to point this out. Do you realize what kind of courage it takes? And at the time, I guess she was 10, right?
9.
Yeah.
9. No, do you realize
I'm not.
the courage that it took for this young kid to have to deal with what she was dealing with? And she was there for the whole thing, you know? She was there. My daughter came. My middle daughter, Nicole, came and, kind of held her hand and looked after her during all of this. But she was so brave, and she has since become one of my students. Yes, I do teach kids, and she does an amazing job. And I know, Vic, you have something you probably could say about this wonderful young lady.
Very smart. Very, very smart. Very wise beyond her years. And it was so nice to meet you that day, Maddie, and to share that experience with you.
Oh, why, thank you.
And, one of the other things that I remember about that day was your daughter.
What?
That's the first time I met Nicole. And she wanted me to say something, Chris. Remember what she wanted you to make me say something. You remember what it was?
I sure do. Why don't you say it?
She said all she wanted to hear. She didn't care about anything else that day except she wanted me to say, "Luke, I am your father." So I said, Chris, I am your father. Oh, I said, Nicole, he is your father. Remember that?
That's right. That's right.
That was fun.
So, Tom, you have anything you want to ask at this point? Because we only have about 13 minutes left.
Real quick, the little one's name again is that should be in bed. Maddie. Look, I've done quite a bit of investigations. I've been with Chris and everything like that for the second side for a while. Other groups. My first experience when I was 27, which is a flashlight turning on by itself, made me run out of a room. So hearing what you went through, I am thoroughly impressed with you, and I can't tell you how much bravery you have shown by going through this entire process and experience. So, hats off to you.
Thank you.
Maddie, not only did he have to run out of the room, he also had to change his pants after that. So
twice. Maddie, I'll tell you. Listen, I'll tell you another story about Tom. When I met Tom, he came to the Kreischer Mansion. The place that you want to go to. He had to change his pants there too.
That was only because the spirit goosed me.
Okay, now I know.
The spirit did goose you.
How on an investigation with you, I have to bring a bag with extra pants, because
For Tom,
no
up
doubt
to yourself.
You're far more brave than Tom. You're far more brave than Tom. You don't need anything. Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Okay.
Anyway, Jeremy, do you have any more questions there?
1 second. No, we do not. I do not have any more. I'm sorry.
All right, any more questions from the chat room? Nothing. What do you got there, Vic?
I just want to conclude again. I think it's really important that we say one more time. First of all, if you have never had an experience with clearing a truly negative entity, human or non-human, don't try it. Call someone with experience, because you could actually exacerbate and make the situation worse if you're an amateur and you go out there and you're trying to do it yourself. And God knows we know so many people who have gotten themselves in real trouble trying to do this, number one. Number two,
I saw it firsthand. I've seen it a couple times. You know what? I think what would be cool now, Tom, the first time I took you on an investigation where you were part of the team, we actually did an exorcism.
We did.
Was Victor there for that? Victor wasn't, right?
Yeah, Victor was there. Yeah.
Oh, all right. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Me or Victor?
Yeah, you, Tom. Go ahead.
Well, that was, when I first got with your group, I was going into basically a whole new field of helping people, like with what you guys do. The experience was that we were in a Staten Island home with experiences mostly, I believe, we're focusing downstairs, where I believe the young man couldn't sleep there anymore, where he was basically being pulled off his bed,
right,
or at least yanked. We were upstairs using the pendulum. You had me using the pendulum, and I remember my body temperature dropped down so bad because I was using the pendulum, and they were trying to basically just attach myself to me. Victor was behind me, protecting me. And I was basically to the point where this entity was so strong that it was draining all my energy, where if you remember, I was at the table shaking so badly. And it was just, I've never been so cold. I've never experienced anything like that. And then we went downstairs. I believe Victor was upstairs communicating with the father, where the upstairs group of spirits were actually protecting. It was the family members and whatnot, and they were trying to actually protect the family from the spirit that was downstairs. And I remember right before you started channeling, we had the lights off, and this dark, over 6'3" mass, black mass, shot across the wall and entered you. And it wound up being the spirit of I believe it was like they were part of a cult or something, where he wound up getting murdered by his friends who set him up to be a sacrifice.
Right. That was some crazy stuff.
It was pretty intense. And I remember, though, the trademark of, like, if you weren't spitting at people, the entity was trying to force you, where he actually flung your arms backwards and tried breaking your arms.
I don't remember that, but if you say so.
It was pretty intense, but you were directing conversations to other people. I was standing between, I forget who the female that was there. I forget who. I think it was actually Anthony's wife. And I stood between because you were directing everything at her, so I stood in between. It's like a barrier. And by the end of the night, though, Victor helped the spirit cross over, and so did you, Chris. You pretend to let your guard down. The spirit believed you won, and you both crossed them over. I have the whole thing recorded.
I just want to finish the point that I was making, and I just want to say this is to the people who are going to go out and become paranormal investigators, or who are members of amateur paranormal investigation teams. Number one, not every situation is paranormal. Not every situation involves a spirit. The majority of them, the great majority of them, are either emotional or environmental, and you have to be knowledgeable enough to deal with both situations. If there's an emotional situation, people need help, have referrals available. You're not psychologists, you're not psychiatrists, but do have local referrals available. If it's something in the house that is environmental, for example, electrical, if someone has some skill as an electrician, wonderful. If not, recommend an electrician. Now, don't give them a name, just say, you folks need an electrician, whatever it might be. So that's for those that are not. And just don't go out and say, well, we couldn't find anything here, and don't find anything that doesn't exist either. Don't make stuff up, because a lot of these make stuff up. So that's number 2. Number 3, if you actually do encounter something, be prepared as to how you're going to react. And do it in the sense of not just trying to make contact, not just trying to collect evidence, but trying to find some way to remedy the situation so that that family is at peace when you leave. And always, always follow up and make sure, call them a few days later, a month later, a week later, whatever it might be, but follow up and make sure that they're still at peace and that they're not having these experiences. That one that Tom was on that you were talking about, Chris and Tom, what happened was that young man had a lot of issues. And because he was so open to attachment, because of his emotional upset, what he was going through in his life, he was actually inviting these things in unconsciously, but still inviting them in.
Right. That was an interesting case. And I speak with Rita, the mom, all the time now. She's an awesome lady, and things are just wonderful in that house. And it's just a testament to what we do. And you know what? She's also one of my psychic development students, and she obviously does space clearing in her house, and that's why things are well. That's why things are, have remained, good over there, because she's taken what we've taught her, she's applied it, and things are good now. It's all good. So
let's go round robin. Let's go round robin. Jeremy, what do you got to say for the end of the show tonight? Jeremy?
Did we lose Jeremy?
I think we lost Jeremy. How about we go, Tom?
Okay, basically, we can all agree on this, is that for those people out there that are trying to get into paranormal investigating, as you guys said, don't lose your main focus, and that's helping the people. You're not out there to try to create a new show. You're not out there. You are there to help people. Don't lose touch with those people. Go in prepared. If you don't know what you're doing, don't just reading a book and then saying, hey, I bought a K2 meter, let's do an investigation. You're not ready to do something like that. Just leave it to the people who know what they're doing, who can help those people. Do not create a worse scenario for those people.
All right, Tamara, you have anything you want to end with?
Oh my. I guess if you are going to go out there and do stuff, make sure you ground yourself and always clear your space.
Burn holy water.
No, not burn holy water, Madeline. Bring holy water, my daughter says.
Someone's still up.
Oh, God. How about you, Vic? Something you want to add?
Just that, what we do is part of a greater thing called compassion, because we have all personally experienced something of this nature. And because of compassion, we know what it feels like to be afraid to go into your home, to be afraid to sleep in your bed and turn out the lights, to be afraid of things that are happening that are beyond your control or beyond your understanding. And because of compassion, we're able to do what we do. If you go in by rote and saying, I'm going to play paranormal investigator, that's not an act of compassion. That's an act of selfishness and nothing more. So if you can't be compassionate, you're in the wrong field.
Well said, my friend, as always. He just has a way of putting things, doesn't he, Tom?
It makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
You, forget about it. I think I just had an accident, but that's a whole other story. Anyway.
Tom, you are warm and fuzzy. I've been next to you, I know.
It's true.
That's right.
I remember when your jaw was getting taken over in Chrysler.
You guys.
Let's not go there.
It was messing with Victor's mouth and Tom's ass. I don't even know where I want to go with that. But
I do.
I want to end it on this. If you see somebody who has symptoms of possible attachment, don't take it lightly. Bring it up to them. It's important. I hate to see people go through life suffering. If you're home, if you feel like your home is just a little bit off, do some space clearing. Again, I hate to see people have to suffer. There are things you can do. There are people you can call. You could call Victor Furman. You could call Chris George. You could call Tom Gillespie. You could call us, Jeremy Adams. Get in contact with us on Facebook. We'll steer you in the right direction. We will always, lend the ear, lend a hand, an ear, a shoulder, whatever it is. So don't be afraid to reach out, because the worst thing you could do is keep it to yourself, because then nothing ever gets resolved. So, Victor, why don't you take us out? We only have about 30 seconds left.
Well, he's psychic medium Chris George, and he's Jeremy Moonshine Adams. He's Tom Genghis Gillespie. Tom, what do you want to be called? I don't know what you want to be called.
It doesn't matter. Genghis Tom was the joke.
Whatever. And I'm Victor the Voice Furman, and this has been Vision Quest. Thank you for joining us on DTM Wicked Radio. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right, that was a good show.